hospital at the beginning offered me 20,000, and then they upped it to 50,000. In that, I would have to sign a silence clause to not talk about what had gone on at the hospital. I said I would consider if they agreed that they would clean up the act of these nurses, but they weren't. What they were saying to me, in fact, take that money and agree to things continuing as they were. And in all fairness and conscience, I could not take that. So,
Milton, I've been so involved in the story all morning, asking you questions, talking to Dave and Nita, listening to Quaker here, that I know you probably wouldn't mind, but are you actually in tears right now?
Yes, it's because the more I think about it, it hurts me, because I know that right now in Britain, this clinic has gone back to its very old ways. They claim in a document that they've made 18 changes, and yet still they put out stories about me that basically everything I say is lies. Now, why would you need to make 18 changes to diversity training, racial awareness training, the way that you treat people, the diagnosing of people? Why would you need to make 18 changes if there was nothing wrong with it? Why fix it?
Milton probably doesn't want me to say this, but I need to say this so Jamaica understands that, you know, ever so often he bursts into tears. I mean, this is our elder. How old are you, Milton?
Let me say, I don't burst into tears because of suffering as such.
Yeah.
I burst into tears that I feel frustrated that the people, especially in London, when I hear Jamaicans being described as animals, dogs,
black
breeders,
bitches and black
whatever.
cows and so on, yes.
That's what frustrates me and brings the because I wish I could do something. And I find that Britain's institutional racism is so endemic. Now, this is a country that likes to give out that they're the civilized country of the world. For instance, one gentleman rang in and said that he had been there and that a particular nurse couldn't give him an explanation of why basically they wanted to take bloods from him. He asked me directly whether was there an experiments going on around HIV, and I answered him honestly and said yes, because there's a particular nurse, and I will name her because I've named her previously, and this is the joke with kings. They have sacked me, but I have dared them to take me to court over anything they claim is a lie, and they won't take me to court. There was a nurse called Linda Tika, a very strange girl, who would say things like, what these people need is a very good dose of AIDS. When she's annoyed with black people, this is her normal figure of speech. I mentioned that on Quaker because I'm saying it's very dangerous, because there's been many cases in the UK where you've had nurses saying that they feel like killing, and in one case there was one girl who killed 7 babies. You know, I felt it my duty when I hear a nurse repeating over and over again that basically she's fed up with black people and they should all die from AIDS. Her words exactly. There are other members of the black staff who heard these things and previously said, yes, Milton, I heard, but they've suddenly withdrawn. They want to do a lot of experiments. I don't know if you are aware of, in the 40s, there was a case in Tuskegee. I'm very conscious of that case where a black nurse and a doctor were prepared to pump syphilis into black men to test the effect so that they could treat syphilis in white servicemen in the theater of war in Europe. I'm very conscious that something like this was going on, where they were saying to me, Milton, take this job, go out into the community, don't do anything. I was even advised, go and sit in a pub somewhere and have a good drink and leave the people alone. They're not one of you. They're subhuman, you know. You are honorary. Why I find this very insulting. So you see, I'm a very difficult customer to deal with because I'm not prepared to sell any black person. We need millions to put the black community right. Yet still, it increases every year. Now, someone like me go out there and try and say, do something about it. It makes me beg and say, probably they want to keep these figures high, because there are people earning very good living out of, that's one of the words that they might accuse me of. I call it poverty pimping. They pimp off our suffering and things like that they don't like. But it's a fact.
Milton Hanson is in the studio, a nurse who had the audacity, who dared to blow the whistle on racism in the British healthcare system. Some of the things that he pointed out, nurses calling black men breeders, calling black women black bitches. Had the notes of black patients push back to make them wait longer and cause them maximum discomfort and anxiety. Black women suffering humiliation as they were left naked on trolleys for an unnecessarily long time in undignified positions. Probes were pushed so far up black men's penises that they bled.
Jamaicans were taking up too much space in their clinic. It was a campaign. It was a cleansing campaign to get Jamaicans to leave the clinic. And I stood and said, they have every right, because I am very much aware. I have an uncle who's so radical that he is now in Zimbabwe. And I came up in Pan-Africanism, and I feel that I don't owe Britain anything. I told them that I am quite prepared to go back to Jamaica and be a subsistence farmer instead of bow one bit. So I'm not apologetic. That's why I've chosen David Nita, because he's a strong Jamaican. And I said to him, if he wants to go in there and plead that I'm sorry what I said or whatever, I'm not interested.
You know, Elder Milton highlighted that they were giving our women diseases. They were infecting them down in the unit. Now, these are serious things.
These are very serious charges, and we know that racism exists in a serious way in Britain. You talk about the inability of the black community in Britain to feel our own pain. And Kwaku, this is not just the black community in Britain. This seems to be the kind of a problem that we suffer throughout the black community. In other words, we can all get up and mourn for the tsunami victims in Thailand, and we can't feel the pain of the tsunami victims in Somalia, for example.
Well, we can't feel. I mean, Gilbert and the other one were licked down Haiti and Grenada and Jamaica the other day. People are still suffering from those things from back then, but black people don't feel that. The governments with those, you know, I was shocked to find out that the government, the Jamaican government, send money for tsunami victims when people in Grenada and the poor people in Jamaica need help. You send money where you don't have to send. You know, have to say we are dictated to how and what we can say and how we can say it. We can't tell the truth about how we feel as black people in this country. And we came out and supported Elder Milton. They tried to pay him off, them suck him. And you have to remember, this institution, which is King's College, we know him can't mention, but me I say it live, King's College Hospital of Britain. These people, them are institution. They have millions and millions of pounds. So they can afford to hire expensive lawyer and all them something there to go against our elder. So when we don't have that kind of fraternity here that we can sustain our elder and likewise hire just an expensive lawyer to deal with them case. So right now then, Kwaku, he's feeling Milton Hanson the full might of all of his power that's coming. Oh yeah,
this racist power that's coming from King's College.
Definitely.
What is the support like in the black community, and what have you, because I know you've been working on this seriously as a radio DJ, what have you been able to do in order to garner the kind of support that he needs?
Well, alongside the other community stations, we have been able to muster up support in terms of demonstrating for our elder. What has been weak is the actual community itself coming out, the actual black community coming out en masse. And you see, this is the thing with the black community in Britain. They're kind of docile. They are very immune to their own pain. They can feel somebody else's pain. If it's something else happened to another community and it's an atrocity, black people will actually come out in support of that. But in actually coming out in mass support of their own community, they're kind of weak on that front. But in saying that, you know, Elder Milton has had a lot of support from organisations, has had a lot of support from Parajam in terms of the Nubian Forum talk show.
Kwaku, I'm so sorry that we're out of time in this segment of the program, but I know we're going to talk with you again because we're continuing our discussion on racism in Britain. I don't know if these notes are for you, but
Brother Kwaku.
Yeah, don't go, Kwaku. Let me just read this to you. A caller, this is for Kwaku. An English caller said to tell this brother to keep the faith and to mention St. Thomas Hospital, where racism is deliberate. She said, we the people are behind him 100%.
What can an ordinary listener do? You know, is there a support fund? Are there letters that we could write? What could we read?